Nutrimedical Report, and we're a day early on our firing line. The questions that you pose through our orders line, which is 888-212-8871, or at Nutrimedical, Nutrimedical.com. And, of course, we have a worldwide audience through Genesis Network. We're also on Dish Network, broadcasting the full Genesis shows, including all the commercials and everything, all 3 hours, Monday to Friday, in Europe, Great Britain, North Africa, the Middle East, Russia, and China. We also broadcast on K-band satellite North and South America the first hour, and, of course, broadband worldwide. You can listen on the apps. There have been some new upgrades to the listening to the MP3 archives. It's real simple. All you have to do is just save as after you press the download button, and you can save it in your file and zip through and stop it, and you don't have to listen to it continuously. You can stop it, speed forward through whatever you want to catch the important points. So it's an excellent system, and it's all free through Genesis Network. We really appreciate what they're doing. And Michelle, you have some announcements. Let's roll.
Hi, how are you today?
I had to make an announcement because a lot of people were worried because of the new changes of the appearance and the functionality of the listening to the Listen Live buttons.
Yeah, I've had a few people say, they can't find this, can't find that.
Yeah, I rearranged the buttons, so it's all fixed, and everything's working perfect.
Good.
And we have the buttons are in order of MP3 archives and listen what's called on demand, which means you can listen to the show playing continuously 8 times a day. And then, of course, there's other buttons down below, including our Facebook and Twitter links, which we have now.
Which reminds me of Amanda. She's working on that. And Amanda is here, and our oldest son, Matthew, and their little Henry, our little grandson. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. They arrived yesterday. I'm so excited. I'm surprised I made it here. I barely made it, didn't I?
You did make it. It's a miracle.
Barely made it. This afternoon, Amanda and I go out, and no one's interested in this except for me. I'm going to get my hair done while she gets her nails done. And who's interested, Bill? Did someone say I was
social.
Boring?
Not really.
Anyways, not really. Side. You're so kind. Okay, anyways, good to be here. It's kind of funny to be here on a Thursday. We have a few announcements to make. What's the first announcement?
Well, I've got one simple one. I've got the product information sheet, more information on the Gamma E+. Mm-hmm. People were asking about that because it's one of our newer products. Mm-hmm. So that's all up. And
the adrenal support?
The adrenal support, we've now put that up with all the information. Plus, we're going to start embedding blogs on every one of the products to anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. And on all the wellness conditions, you'll see a lot more information on how to do the advanced medical testing, etc. And perhaps later on I'm going to get into in hour 3 some discussions of some recent consults I had and some interesting dialogue back and forth.
Today on hour 3?
Hour 3, the first part of hour 3, because Tim won't be here. He has another appointment in bottom of hour 3, so it's going to be open lines hour 3.
Oh, good to know for people that are listening.
Yeah.
Open lines for any questions, spiritual, medical,
geopolitical, anything.
Geopolitical.
Oh, yeah, all kinds of interests.
Hair appointments. You'll take anything.
Probably not.
Well,
Probably
come
not
on
hair.
Now.
Yeah.
Come on. Anything goes.
Yeah. Well, the screen has to be topically relevant and interesting to other people.
I would like to thank everybody for helping me with the show, because I realize that I wouldn't even have a show if it wasn't for all the emails and all the people that support us and call in and their questions. And that's really my whole show is everyone else, their questions. And that makes it easy for me. All I have to do is read off the questions. Keep it coming.
Let's add your version of humor, which is very light and funny and entertaining.
Aww. Bill, I talked to Bart from Fire Gel this week. He called.
Yes, Bart from Fire Gel.
He actually called my cell phone. He must have given it.
That's right. In fact, Bart Tuttle, who's the local representative of poolsidefirepumps.com. He's in San Diego here. And, of course, they have the poolside pumps because you can then use your pool to kind of prevent your house from burning down. And they also sell the Fire Gel, the local representative for Fire Gel, which they are sent out to follow Fire Gel. Plus, we're going to bring it to our fire department. He's going to come up
here and bring the Fire Gel and give us a little demonstration and everything. It's going to be fun.
Right. Plus, we're also going to the Vista Fire Department here.
Yes.
And we're going to try to see if other fire departments will pick it up, because there's a little resistance by the fire department. Say if they ran out, like they're going to say one guy's home, but maybe not another because they've run out. What we want to do is get communities to make sure they have enough of this, because when there's flash fires...
Which there are some communities here who already use it.
Yeah, Palomar.
Fire departments.
Fire departments, yeah.
That's right. Okay, so I just wanted to bring up the Fire Gel, and I thought that's a wonderful thing for all of our listeners here in San Diego County and all over California because, of course, we have a threat of fire. But guess what?
It's even worse in Texas.
The craziest thing happened here, which never happens in the summer.
Uh-huh.
We had a big thunder and lightning storm here, not last night, but the night before. And we had rain. It was crazy, like pouring rain. It was so nice.
Start of the monsoon season is what it is.
But
it's a little early.
I've never been so happy to see rain. It's crazy. Usually you see rain and go, oh, darn,
But it was an unusual storm. It was real loud, like it was right overhead, like somebody was kind of hitting the bongos.
You slept right through. I woke up at the first thunder, 2:30, and you woke up at 4 o'clock because I was still awake.
Yeah, well, what I do was wake up for a minute and go right back to sleep.
Bill's sleeping great lately, by the way, in case anyone's wondering. You're sleeping like a baby.
Yeah.
And I'm awake keeping watch.
That's good.
I'm always awake keeping. I sleep with one eye open, don't I?
Yeah, watching The Cave.
Watching The Cave. Bill, I talked to Susan from, she was from Boston, she says, and now she's from North Carolina, and she's a real sweetheart. And she wanted me to thank you on the air today for her salvation, for having a relationship with Jesus. Because
good.
she has been listening to you for about a couple years now, 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And she came in not knowing and lost, and now she's
wonderful.
found.
That's good. It's good because they have to understand that this show is first dedicated to the Most High God first, and then to helping people like we're supposed to, like the ancient Kohenic high priests, we're supposed to basically serve God first and then serve and take care of the people.
Yeah.
And
like you did for me this week. Look how you took care of me through prayer this week. I had a rough week, and I think I get too excited when I have company coming, and I do overkill for getting ready and everything, don't I, Bill? I get all wound up. And, Bill's prayer. To have a husband that will pray for you and know, you're so tuned into me, like you just knew that I needed that prayer and all the heaviness lifted off. And thank you for that, Bill.
Oh, you're welcome. We're just sons and daughters or servants of the Most High God, but we're also His children. And we need to start picking up our scepter and ruling instead of behaving like we're somehow always victims.
But your timing was perfect for me. You're always like...
God was tapping me on the shoulder and then banging me on the top of the head with dreams and visions, too.
Pray for Michi.
So he got my attention, let's put it that way.
I know this week you talked to Carla because I put her through to you. Carla. Hi, Carla, over there in Florida. I remember her husband and her did a lot to get the smart meter removed in Florida. And she has a problem, though, and we were both praying on the phone there because she had a hard week, I had a hard week. And how do you say that hernia she has?
Inguinal.
And what is that? And what do you do?
The inguinal canal usually happens more often in males, but it can be in females. And
what is that, inguinal?
It's a canal where a lot of the blood vessels and nerves come down to the inguinal canal in the side of the pelvis, bottom side of the pelvis.
Yeah.
And if you get a weakness of it or it swells, it can hurt, but it may not be actual rupture. The danger comes if it gets large enough, you can get a loop of bowel caught in there. When you have someone that has an initial just pain and they don't, the gold standard isn't just poking around with your fingers, doing an ultrasound to see if you actually have a pouch of peritoneum with a loop of bowel in there or the start of it. Mm-hmm. If you don't have that, what you do is use things like Collagen Max and Tendon Mender, and swelling will go away and it'll heal and get strong again. But I tell people, don't rush into surgery. And definitely never use mesh, because mesh causes autoimmune and allergic reactions. There's lots of big lawsuits and legal firms over it now.
So you said Collagen Max
and Tendon Mender, those two.
I thought the
Inflamex, those are the three biggies.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to have the enzymatic anti-inflammatory. Don't use ibuprofen; it interferes with collagen synthesis and healing. Mm-hmm. You want to use Tendon Mender, which makes the tenocytes or the fascia reduces swelling and pain. And you want to use Collagen Max to strengthen the cross-links so you actually rebuild the elastin and collagen fibers of the fascial, and because the fascia is what holds everything together.
Another interesting call this week was from Robert from Connecticut, and he had an aneurysm, and he had surgery, and what happened is that he couldn't see properly after that, and it was like he was drunk. He said he doesn't even drink, but everything was like swaying and everything. Maybe we'll talk about that when we come back.
We'll talk about it, because it's not an eye problem, it's a brain problem, but we'll talk about how to recover from that.
That's great how you realize that.
Yeah. Very good.
Impressed.
You don't want to lose your mind or your health, and we got some interesting stories we'll talk about in hour 3, but you got lots more questions, Michelle.
Bill, we were talking about Robert, remember, from
Yes, okay, he had an aneurysm. I'll explain when his eye doctor looked at them, he didn't see any retinal changes, like a retinal tear or like a buckling. He didn't see any signs of loss of visual field if you actually did the challenges, but he had difficulty seeing, and it means it's a receptor problem. When they did an evaluation, they found an aneurysm in his brain that leaked, and it's most likely high blood pressure with what's called a lacunar infarct. Those usually resolve within a few weeks to a month or so. If there's any residual, it means the nerve cells are in what's called metabolic stasis. They're not dead, but they're paralyzed. So if you support the brain metabolism, things like Cognition Plus, Brain Power, Synaptin, Neurogen, which takes nerve cells and regenerates them, you can use transcranial lumen photon and soma pulse will help get those going again, and even mild hyperbarics. If it doesn't resolve after a few months, you try the other things first. What you're trying to do is regenerate the activity of the brain cell. So ALC 1000, D-ribose, increases ATP. When you get an action potential again and proper, we call saltatory nerve conduction through the area from the optic nerve to the geniculate nucleus at the base of the brain, and then it splits and goes back toward the occipital cortex for the visual fields. So the fact is he had an aneurysm probably in the territory of, say, the middle cerebral artery, and the aneurysm hit an area of the either probably just in front or just behind the geniculate nucleus, which is why he had vertigo too.
Where
because
is that?
It's at the base of the brain, kind of right. If you go straight to the side of the head, it's at the base of the brain.
In the front?
In front of your ears. And that aneurysm, you can strengthen the aneurysmal wall using Vein Away, Collagen Max, and Mountain Red Velvet.
What
Those
can you
are the three.
take to prevent an aneurysm?
Collagen Max, Mountain Red Velvet, and Vein Away. Those three.
To prevent it.
Right, because what it is actually there can be metabolic or SNP, gene SNP weaknesses, or there can be a copper zinc metabolism problem where you're not making strong enough collagen and elastin, so the artery wall gets weak points.
So the Collagen Max is good for that too. Wow.
Yes, it helps to regenerate the collagen, elastin, hyaluronic acid, and the hyaluronic acid polymer in your eyes and joints.
Cool.
So your elastin is really important if you're not making strong enough and cross-linked elastin fibers and collagen, and then you'll actually prevent the expansion of an aneurysm, even like an aortic aneurysm. And we've had many cases where people start Collagen Max and Vein Away and Mountain Red Velvet, and their aneurysm stops growing, which means if it doesn't get over 5 centimeters, you don't need emergency surgery.
Okay, Bill, are you ready for the emails?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, how about we start with Pam? There you are, right at the top, Pam. Pam from the Chicago area. Hi, Michelle. Here's a question for Dr. Bill for your Friday show, which I think you're doing on Thursday this week. You're right. It's Thursday. Mm-hmm. A friend of ours has recurring psoriasis. What is the underlying cause of this condition, and what can be done to prevent it from reoccurring? Can it be caused as a side effect of beta blockers, diuretics, or what's that?
Levothyroxine.
Which she's been on that. This is her friend. Our friend is on a very limited budget, so we would appreciate knowing the top key Nutrimeds to fix the problem.
Yeah, drugs can induce it. It's caused by interleukin 27 at the prickle cell layer of the dermo-epidermal junction, and it's triggered off by dermacenter mites, which is a microscopic parasite. They carry nanobacteria.
Oh, so it's mites for psoriasis?
Mites trigger off psoriasis, and it triggers off interleukin IL-17, 27.
Oh.
What you do there, it's almost like a para-autoimmune disorder where basically you start, the mites cause an induction of protein antigens that make your lymphocytes migrate into the prickle cell layer and start releasing a lot of cytokines, including IL-27. And then the cells slough off in layers. We could be called a Kerbner's phenomena. So if you scratch it, you'll end up with a kind of a scaly area, and it's quite inflamed underneath it. And it can crack and bleed and so on, and can be quite uncomfortable. Uh-huh. The first thing you do is you want to use curcumin topically. Then you want to use Allergon and high-dose power vitamin C. Power C, those are the three key ones.
Okay, we just want to stop at 3. Thanks, Bill. You could have been 4, but 3 is good.
Yeah, you can use anti-inflammatories too, like the Inflamex.
Okay,
which
the top 3 and then plus Inflamex.
Inflamex. I like the curcumin topically. You can use the oral cell defense in place of the Inflamex as a first step. Because what you're trying to do is turn off the production of cytokines. So
which would you prefer, the cell defense or the Inflamex? Probably the cell defense.
Cell defense, and then if you're trying to kill the pathogens, I like Nutridyne directly on the skin.
So what's the top 4 then?
Top 4, curcumin, cream, cell defense, Nutridyne, Allergon.
Oh, you did that different than the first time.
Yeah, what did you want to do before? I was going to add some others.
I know.
If you're going to add some others,
we're trying to stay on a budget. So
right, that's the top 4.
Top 4.
Yeah,
Okay.
you could add other ones like Power C and so on, and immunoglobulins, because what it is, it's a autoimmune disease, and people have a tendency toward psoriasis, and it can be triggered off by drugs like beta
And why would
blockers.
you choose the Nutridyne over the Power C?
Because you're trying to kill off the dermatocytomites and the parasites. And the Power C would be level 2.
And we know that Nutridyne kills
everything. Yeah, and Silver 100 and the others will too, by the way. I hear all kinds of foolish garbage by people that call themselves doctors or naturopaths experts, and they talk about silver hydrosol. It's a marketing pile of garbage. The only state that silver kills pathogens is the ionic state, the only ionic citrate complex or ionic complex. It's a stable that'll pass through the biofilm of any tissue in the body is Silver 100. There is nothing else competing it in the world. Nanoparticle, hydrosol, garbage sol, colloidal, it's all foolishness.
Okay.
It's not chemical facts.
You done?
Yeah.
Richard from Texas. Dr. Bill, what do you recommend for canker sores in children?
I like to chew on the tablets of GastroHeal, and then I like to give CoQ10
In
Supreme.
children, would they do that?
Yeah, you chew it. You take it, or you can grind it up into a powder and put it in their mouth, and you can
Put it right on the sore.
Put it right on the sore.
Yeah.
The GastroHeal tablets, you can grind them between two spoons and then put a little bit of powder on your finger and on the mouth.
Yeah.
The others you can open up a capsule of and put on your finger also of CoQ10 Supreme. And the CoQ10 will heal the gums and the canker sores faster than anything. CoQ10 Supreme.
Which would you recommend over the other?
Well, first is the GastroHeal tablets, and the second is if you want to heal them fast, is the CoQ10 Supreme.
Let me
Just puncture it, and then like with a corn skewer, and then squeeze a little bit on your finger and put it on the canker sore, and it'll go away.
Yeah. Next, Bill, is Lawrence from the Barrio, Brazil, from Chile. Okay,
Beautiful.
I hope I got that right. I got your voice message, and the main question I have, he wants to know what products will clear up the he has a dental infection.
Deep dental infections, I tell them
A lot of people are asking about that, aren't they?
Yeah.
This past year.
Yeah. The first thing you want to do is you want to not brush your teeth with any fluoride toothpaste, which damages.
Right.
So I would recommend brushing your teeth with Silver 100 4 times a day. Only toothbrush and Silver 100. No toothpaste or anything. You use the toothpaste first and rinse your mouth, and then after you've rinsed your mouth really well, or you can irrigate
you have to use the toothpaste.
Use that first, but then you rinse your mouth and get all the garbage away.
Like I use the Jason toothpaste.
Right, and afterwards, then you have just your mouth and then Silver 100.
Yeah.
And then the second thing you want to do is you want to kill off the nanobacteria as well. Orally, I'd recommend Alamax or Alamed or Alcimed. And then you want to rebuild the bones. So you need Bone Generator, Micelle D3, Collagen Max, because you're getting cavitations and the bone retracts away from the tooth.
And we have had a lot of success.
Right.
I know the music's coming on and we don't have much time to talk about it, but we have had a lot of, Lauren, if you're listening, with those products.
Yeah, because what happens, the tooth, in membranous bone, the bone actually pulls away from the Sharpay fibers of the tooth root, and it forms a cavity that allows the nanobacteria to create a pocket. Welcome back, and you want me to review that again about dental. The first thing is when you get demineralization of the membranous bones of the skull or the jaw, you get retraction. You don't get decreased bone density. And it creates cavitations around the tooth root, and you can eventually rupture the Sharpay fibers. So Bone Generator, Micelle D3, Myco D2, and full vitamin K2 are very important to regenerate the bone. You want to kill your pathogens and rinse. I often will irrigate too with Nutrimedical and the liquid Alamax liquid. And that will clear the pathogens, and then it'll regenerate. But you can also use CoQ10 Supreme to speed the regeneration of the gums.
Next is Melanie from Connecticut, and she said she would like to know a question about your morning smoothie that you talk about. She said I'd like to know what you put in your drink, as I gave up my whey and fruit, and I thought with my medical concerns right now that my sugar intake, although from organic fruits, may not be wise. What do you think of getting sugar from organic fruits?
I think that you want to avoid real high fructose. The things that I think are useful or safe are berries and melons. Berries and melons and apples. But you want to look at the total what's called glycemic load, and the best way is to take the grams of carbohydrate and multiply by the glycemic index. The best phone app or iPad app is called Low GI. But I tell people, try to avoid sweet berries. Try to avoid anything that's high sugar or high fructose. So those are bad. But otherwise...
and we prefer the rice pea protein over the whey.
Oh, yeah. Rice pea protein is much less allergenic. Whey is pretty good, but the rice pea protein is very complete. The way I put the formula together when I make my smoothie is I'll use glycemics, life support, ageless energize, omega cod liver liquid, nutriodine, D-ribose, ALC-1000, and I'll put also a little bit of samethyl in it, which is the acetylmethionine powder.
Whoa, man, you got a lot in there. Mine is just ageless,
and then it has
life support, and glycemics mixed all up.
Right, and then I add to it probably 8 to 10 ounces of almond coconut milk. The rest is water and ice to make up, about one half.
No wonder you're there for
1/3 of the volume. It takes a little while, but it lasts 3 or 4 days. And I'll have small glasses that I like between meals, like a 2 or 3 ounce glass. And say for breakfast, I'll have a full glass.
Now you share that with Kelsey.
Yeah, she'll have that. And I mix into her with her extra powder. Maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon of her special powder for Down syndrome, and she'll have that mixed into it.
And that special powder he's talking about is maybe 20 to 30 open capsules, different of our products, and then all mixed together and keeping in a little jar just to add a little bit.
Right,
every day.
And there's a way that she doesn't have to swallow any pills, and she just downs it. No. So she loves the flavor because it's a beautiful, smooth drink, and especially with the
chocolate. You forgot one of the ingredients.
Oh yeah,
I see you putting that cocoa.
I have
powder.
Organic cocoa powder, and I also have.
And you order that online,
and I also
don't
have yes, I do, and I also put in a little bit of guava inulin. Which is soluble fiber to maintain the GI tract, and also to make sure that you have normal bowel movements. Because if you're using this as a kind of what I call a smoothie fast, you got to have soluble fiber. Or you're going to be your bowel will be angry at you.
Okay, Bill.
Yeah, there you go.
Boy, anyone listening to that, they're going to have to play it back a few times to see everything that's in there.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Next is
I'll post it up if they want to know. I'll post up my smoothie formula.
Wu or Yi from Malaysia. Dear Bill, Michelle and Dr. Bill, greetings from Malaysia. And what does he say? When will be the date that you think you'll start marketing? What's this, Bill? The full body PEMF device from Shanghai. What's that all about?
Yeah, I've been researching for the last few months a static magnetic field device that's been invented in China. And I've talked to the engineer that was involved in it, and it's a whole new technology. What it does is it creates a static field, so you create static electrical circuits with the body, and then the magnetic field re-energizes to different pathways. So the static field finds the energy meridian pathways and creates an energy pathway, and then the magnetic field energizes it. Ooh. It's a whole new technology. It's really cool. They have these special static mats. That'll probably be up as soon as sometime in the next week.
Then you can answer that email.
Yeah, that'll be up within the next week.
Next is Dan in an email. Hi, Dr. Deagle. I write a weekly newsletter for seniors, and can you let me know the benefits of vitamin D for seniors?
Yeah, I put up, if you go look at the product information sheet, but the key thing is vitamin D is seniors often have osteoporosis. They have vitamin D deficiency, which is necessary for stem cells. Vitamin D is necessary to keep the calcium in your bones instead of in your arteries. And vitamin D is necessary for brain function and for immune system function, like building new red and white blood cells, etc. So it's a whole lot of different functions. Without vitamin D, your stem cells don't work either. You can't repair your body.
So the MyCell D3 is our vitamin D.
Yeah, and a lot of times don't assume that because you're getting sunlight or have a tan, you have vitamin D. There's a number of steps that are required to make vitamin D. And there are some drugs, by the way, people take that interfere with D metabolism, like beta blockers, which interfere with calcium channels and can cause damage. They interfere with CoQ10, so if you take carvedilol, your vitamin D level may be low, or beta blockers like metoprolol. And other drugs that you take, like ACE inhibitors or ACE receptor blockers, actually directly block stem cells. Other ones will cause electrolyte problems like diuretics. Other ones actually increase blood viscosity, which increases the risk of developing oxidized plaque in your artery walls. So, people have to realize that there's, we call nutrient deficiencies caused by drugs, and also physical danger caused by drugs. So short-term use may be okay in emergency. Long-term use is often very toxic.
Next is Anthony from Montana. Anthony here, I recently read an article by a doctor that stated that the benefits of nano-silver to inhibit Ebola virus and other agents, and she recommends a silver solution as opposed to a colloidal. Well, colloidal is an ionic or ionic.
And first off, there's no
silver.
such thing as they call it hydrosol. The fact is that whoever wrote this is not a chemist. There's no such thing as a sol or solution of tiny microparticles of silver that's not in an ionic state. It's not a hydrosol. It's not dissolved. There's no hydrogen bonding around it. It's an citrate complex in silver 100. It's the only one in the world that has that.
There's so many silvers.
So they're all.
It's confusing for people.
It's confusing because people are lying. They call them, they trot out their MD or ND or whatever, and they say that their product is superior, or they call it a hydrosol, which it is not. And the fact is that silver 100 is hundreds of times stronger than any other silver for that reason, because it's 100% in its lethal state and stem cell stimulating state.
May I say this?
Yeah.
We could carry any silver we want to. You searched and searched for years. In fact, we used to have a different silver like 4 or 5 years ago. But you found this silver, and that's why we sell this silver.
Well, I talked to the chemist and...
Let me finish, though. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's not one of our products. It's something that you've researched and decided and pick this one out of all the silvers.
Right.
So, because often I think people are selling something and they'll say that this is the best just because they're selling it. But to come at to have a product because you've researched it and it's not your product, it's somebody else's.
It's like Cardivite. We don't make Cardivite, but I know Sam Ibrahim for many years. Yeah. And it's when they measure Vitex, which is the hawthorn, and it's not the hawthorn, it's a hawthorn berry and leaf. It's not the other parts of the plant. Okay, it's the... So what people don't understand, the actual research studies shows that the active molecule in hawthorn that's protective of your heart, it reduces nitric oxide, etc., and all the protective effects, is the specific parts of the plant, and it has to come from a European hawthorn, not Chinese or somewhere else. So every batch, they actually test with high-pressure chromatography. No other company does that. So when I search around for products, I search for ones that have the scientific research, that have the validation, and have the physical effects that are far superior to other companies. So there is no competition to Silver 100. None. Zero. Nada. So don't bring any more questions up. All these other sols and so on are garbage.
Are you telling me not to bring up?
No, anybody. Just stop bringing up those questions. It's a waste of time.
Who are you talking to, Bill?
The audience. There's no other silver like Silver 100. Hundreds to thousands.
I love questions like that. The more questions, the better.
Well,
because people are thinking, they're thinking, why?
If they listen, they'll realize.
It, Bill, especially on this station.
Ignore those that say the foolishness about other hydrosols and other things. Just ignore it.
Pretty good.
Trying to pass
for a Thursday.
Pretty good for Thursday. Yeah.
Let's see, Bill. Next is Alvina, and I'll try to go through some of these since it's our last few minutes here. I'll just ask you what she's cut to the chase.
Yeah, cut to the chase. I was about to say the same.
I know. My iron levels are, what's up, 1,442?
Yeah, that's probably the total iron binding capacity. TIBC is most likely.
And what can I do to remove and do an iron detox without hurting kidney functions?
What you do is you use, there's several ways to pull out the iron. First is use our NutriDefense, which is IP6 and inositol hexaphosphate, which binds free iron. Second is to use our Keylor Max, and I recommend 4 capsules twice a day. It'll pull out free heavy metals and iron. Third is our liquid zeolite. And I hear a lot of people trying to market, again, alternate forms of zeolite. Ours is the only one that's non-acid washed. And they've all kinds of fancy names. I even got another name from one of my colleagues. Say, what do you think of this product? I'm thinking, this is just a fancy...
the zeolite is the same as the silver. You researched it, and we can sell any zeolite.
Well, the reason is as soon as you acid wash zeolite to wash out the heavy metals, you actually alter the aluminum cage, because what it is, it's formed when volcanic magma hits seawater, and it forms these little nano cages that are very highly charged, and they grab a hold of heavy metals in your GI tract and your bloodstream, and they pull them out of your body. And they also will pull out free iron.
Now, when she says without hurting kidney function, what's she referring to there?
It's not going to hurt kidney function. Especially, as I say, our nutraceuticals.
Yeah.
The Keylor Max primarily operates in liquid zeolite in the GI tract, where you want the splanchnic circulation of the bowel wall and the liver, and it basically will grab the free iron and pull it out. And you may need phlebotomies, but I try to avoid that if people can, where they actually will remove a certain amount of blood to cut the total body iron level. But you can simply start doing that, measuring your total body iron levels. Iron is bad if you leave it there alone because it can oxidize fatty acids and cholesterol and cause plaque to form in your arteries. So hemochromatosis can lead to plaque and accelerated vascular disease.
Next is Brenda in an email. Hi, Dr. Deagle. Thank you for all your research and work. My husband thinks he has diabetes. What would you suggest he take?
First off, we want to lower insulin resistance because most diabetics have 3 to 5 times the insulin output. Very few are type 1 diabetics, and even type 1, their pancreas will often recover, and they'll get a return of insulin output, but they'll have some insulin resistance develop. So the first one I recommend is dibetaline 2 twice a day. Second is leptin metabolic 1 to 2 twice a day. Biotin plus 1 twice a day. And minerals plus 1 twice a day.
That's the basic.
The core. And you may add chromium cruciferate too, but those are the core. You can add lipoflush,
Is there
which
any
is CLA.
chromium in any of those other products?
Yes, minerals plus, and there's some in the Vitamin Mineral Max, but there's more in the minerals plus. Okay. It also has vanadium. The important thing is you're trying to reduce insulin resistance, which is why we start off with things like dibetaline, leptin metabolic, and biotin plus, and then we add the minerals that work with that. And the fatty acid metabolism is very important. That's why lipoflush, CLA, helps to get the inadequate or partial oxidation of fatty acids in your skeletal muscle normalized, because they block what's called the GLUT4 transporter. So that's where the insulin resistance happens. And when you're taking things like leptin metabolic and the lipoflush and dibetaline, it makes your white fat cells not generate what's called toxic adipokines. These are molecules that your fat cells generate because they're exocrine hormones that will crash on your tissues of your body, especially your skeletal muscles, your skin, and your liver, and they cause various levels of insulin resistance. And so diabetics have plenty of insulin until the terminal stages where their pancreas burns out, which is very rare. They have basically insulin resistance. So as you correct that with lowering total body weight, raising metabolic rate, and by the way, you can add berberstatin and things like mitothyroid, because they're often hypothyroid too and have thyroid resistance, because that'll raise their ability of their brown fat to burn off fat calories, and then once you're able to normalize lipid metabolism, the insulin resistance drops too.
Next is Randy from Alabama. My mom has arthritis and is open-minded to trying your products, so I would like to point her to things that would work best.
The first thing we talk about is tendon, mender, and joint performance, Collagen Max. Those are the trio, yeah. And then you can add anti-inflammatory,
But isn't there different kinds of arthritis too, or? No,
basically all arthritis is inflammatory. They used to think that osteo was not. It's just a different group of cytokines. What happens is it's primarily a cytokine disease rather than autoimmune. Autoimmune, you actually have plasma cells, like in rheumatoid, that migrate in and hit the specific subtype of collagen. So you get plasma infiltration of your joints, and you form rheumatoid nodules, and inflammatory pannus over the joint surface. So basically, it's more autoimmune in rheumatoid, but it's a cytokine inflammatory disorder in osteo. So you use things like leptin metabolic if you think it's osteoarthritis. If it's rheumatoid or other things, you use Allergon, high-dose Power C. You use the inflammatories like Cell Defense and Inflamax, because you don't want to use non-steroidals. They actually damage your cartilage and prevent healing of connective tissues and capsules. So
what are they?
All of them. Celebrax, ibuprofen, and even the disease-modifying drugs the doctors, the rheumatologists give, actually turn off parts of your immune system so you can get cancer. And you can get weird infections that affect your pets.
Never take ibuprofen or whatever.
Ever. For anything. Yeah, it causes erosion of your stomach. Yeah. It crosses and damages your heart. It can cause damage to your metabolism, push you to heart failure. It crosses the blood-brain barrier, can actually shut off neurons and cause dementia.
So some people that are popping these things all the time is not good.
Very bad. And in fact, if you start taking
What's the difference between that and an aspirin?
Aspirin will cause some damage. It shuts off what's called the cyclooxygenase pathway in your platelets, and it permanently damages platelets so they won't properly agglomerate. But it will cause a little bit of erosion in your stomach, but ibuprofen is much worse, and these other non-steroidals. Okay. And then steroids in general are bad. They interfere with collagen metabolism, and if you use disease-modifying drugs like infliximab, metazolimab, etc., these newer drugs for psoriasis and rheumatoid, you not only don't solve the problem of the joint, you try to reduce the cytokine levels without fixing the healing capacity, and in many cases you actually interfere with normal regeneration of the tissues.
Next is Charles, Bill, our friend, our philanthropist, remember?
Oh, yes, Charles.
From Texas. He
helps a lot of people.
Oh, my gosh. He's a true Christian. Yeah. He's a true believer. He practices what he preaches, that guy does. Anyways, he's helping somebody else here, and her name is Nancy, and she has kidney stones.
You want to use magnesium potassium citrate. If you take an adequate dosage of at least 2 twice a day, it'll dramatically reduce gallbladder kidney stones formation. It prevents crystallization.
He was asking about magnesium.
Magnesium potassium citrate is the formula that you want to use for stones. And the other thing you do to protect your kidneys is use allithiamine, ultrathiamine B1 to protect the glomeruli, carnosine, because you want to make sure that you don't damage the glomeruli, because if there's partial obstruction, your glomeruli shut down, you can get renal obstruction, reduced renal failure.
What is this that Charles said here? What's that?
Boron malic acid.
What is that?
No, you don't want to be using that. No.
Well, what is it?
No, what you want to...
heard of it.
No.
What is it?
What you're trying to prevent crystallization, you want to use magnesium potassium citrate. Mm-hmm. You can also use what's called the minoquinone 7, which is the full vitamin K2, and it'll prevent metastatic calcification and formation of stones elsewhere, including metastatic calcification of your brown fat around your internal organs, artery walls, etc. So if you choose full vitamin K2 along with that, it'll help. And I recommend, of course, making sure you have adequate vitamin D levels, myco D2 as well. And that'll help reverse what we call metastatic calcification. Because when you look at all these stones, calcium is usually a component of it, like calcium urate stones, calcium pyrophosphate stones, from pseudogoat, things like that.
Let's see, I'm trying to get to... I've only got a few minutes left here, so let's go into David from Santa Rosa Valley here in California. Today you talked about electronic devices for EMF and Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm. Where do I find those on the website?
First, if you're trying to investigate to find out what's the electro-dangers, you want to go to our website under products, go down to less EMF. You can call him and talk to Emil de Toffel. He's a DDS dentist, as well as a Master in Engineering and Electrotoxicity. He's got a Master in Engineering degree as well. And the device you want to look for first is a Stetzer electronic tester for you plug into your plugs in your house to get the low frequencies. You can plug in these capacitors. It'll take out the low frequency electropollution. The next is to get a gigahertz solutions from Germany that measures smart meter and radiation from, say, your microwave, dimmer switches. And the next is an oscilloscope with the magnetic field, electrical field, and oscilloscopic conversion, so you can put it on your iPad or your computer, and you can actually see the frequencies and the electrotoxins. And of course, we have our electrotoxin protocol, which is Cognition Plus, Brain Power, Neurogen, and I recommend that you
I love the Cognition Plus. That's a good one.
Yeah, and of course the Nutritrala Cognition, what's called Cell Detox Glutathione, because you're getting oxidative stress in the brain.
Guess what? The time has come. Thank you for listening today. It's been a wonderful day, and thank you, Bill, for all your knowledge and for being my hubby and helping me in prayer all week. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Most High God, because sometimes they get your attention in maybe ways you didn't expect.
Thank you, Jesus, and everybody. God bless you. Have a great